to the people of Laikipia. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, for us, we are agreeing the government is taking action. We are agreeing that forces are being employed. However, how do we now gain confidence of government if the same officers who are being employed with command cannot take action? Those answers must be given to us. And the only way we can agree and accept the government is taking action is recovering our animals. Is to see people brought to justice, to see people being punished. Those who make other people cry must also cry. They should not steal our animals at their own leisure and have the pressure to go and enjoy the route. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support and seriously ask this House to consider, even if you are going now to amend the laws that are necessary to ensure that there is combined forces, that action can be taken with no boundary. The army should come in, police should come in, other security forces must come in. I support.
Thank you. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me join my two colleagues, the Honorable Sarah Korere and the Honorable Mangi Kiunjuri, in expressing my disgust at these incessant acts of banditry and cattle or livestock theft in these areas. And I want really to subscribe to their sentiments to a large extent. But Madam Speaker, you know, we need to look at the root cause of all this. I am not really privy to what goes on there in detail. But from my understanding of what I'm being told, this is no longer just a way of life, as we are being made to believe when we were young, that cattle theft or banditry is a way of life. No. It has become a pure economic activity that therefore calls for more in-depth look into what then can be done to address the economic situation of the people living in those areas. Because if they got more gainful economic engagement, they would perhaps slowly get away from these nefarious activities. But that is food for thought, and it's the duty of the government of the day to really address those concerns. But secondly, Madam Speaker, and tied to the first issue, you know, if this banditry was contained, it would actually create an environment, conducive environment, for more meaningful economic activities to happen, to take place. That would, in the long run, help not only the people living in those areas, but help the whole country, really. Because every single part of the country, if is economically active or productive, would contribute to the overall economic development of the country. So I think it's incumbent upon the government of the day to really address this issue, but in a holistic manner. What we have tended to see from time to time are knee-jerk reactions that seem not to be yielding fruits, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me also say this. I am not a security expert, not like my good friend, the Honorable Ruto. But I am not too dumb to see trends. Madam Speaker, in the recent past, and this is my own observation, as a country, you have done very well. And I must commend the National Intelligence Service, the current leadership of the National Intelligence Service. We have done so well in containing terrorism in this country. We have done very, very well in combating terrorism and terrorist acts in the recent past. And I attribute this in my own way to the National Intelligence Service, perhaps. But, Madam Speaker, the question that comes to my mind, therefore, is why can't we use the tactics we have been able to use in containing terrorism in the recent past, in dealing with this menace? Is this menace too complex, yes, to be dealt with conclusively, Honorable Ruto? You may be telling me after this. Yes, okay? What is it that that this banditry entails that is so difficult, so complex for the government to deal with, really, and to the benefit of the country. So I think even as we debate this, and I really sympathize with my good friend, Honorable Sarah Koreri, because I can imagine what she's going through. If her own life is now in danger, she's not even sure that she's safe anymore. And a leader who is elected by the people. So what is the situation, therefore, of the rest of the populace, the ordinary people in Laikipia, okay? And elsewhere. It's not just Laikipia. It's Laikipia, it's Samburu, it is everywhere. It's Baringo, okay? So I think this house should now move from just mere talk to more concrete action. Because if it is talking, we have talked enough. Ever since I joined this parliament in 2013 with you, Madam Speaker, we have had this talk. Yes, every other session of parliament we have talked about this insecurity situation, about the banditry, about the cattle rustling, but we seem not to be getting anywhere. So I think it is now incumbent upon this House to now think outside the box and perhaps take extraordinary measures to deal with this clearly extraordinary situation. With those very many remarks, Madam Speaker, I adopt the sentiments of my two colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Saku.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to join the Leader of Minority, Honorable Sarah, and Mwangi Kiunjuri in what they have expressed this afternoon. I speak from the floor of this House as the patron of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group, as a former officer of Kenya Defense Forces, and also as Vice Chair of Security, representing the National Assembly. As a committee, we have managed to visit Laikipia, Samburu, Turkana, West Pokot, Marakwet, Baringo. And we are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the CS Kindiki is doing so much, and he has achieved so much. But the 20% of work that is undone, cooperation of security forces, administrators, and a lot of cartels who have made the issue of insecurity internally in Kenya totally unbearable for quite sizable part of the Kenyan population. We have visited some of the areas, like in Baringo, that locations and even wards, people have moved away because they can't live in their homes and they can't farm. And I said to both my colleagues and the population we found wherever we visited that we cannot allow that situation to obtain. I also agree with the Leader of Minority. If we are able to deal with terrorism, people without faces, people who we can only trace maybe on computers or on telephones or in technological fingerprints, why can't we deal with bandits in Mukogodo Forest? Are there special people who are undertaking these criminal activities? Madam Speaker, the Committee of Security will table a report, I think by next week, following our extended visit into all these troubled spots. Further to that, we have said the idea of blanketly naming, oh, this area, this tribe, these communities, I think it must come to an end. We must focus on areas, individuals, whether they are leaders or politicians. People must account for what they are doing in terms of making Kenya unsafe. Madam Speaker, what Honorable Sarah has raised, you know, we take many things for granted. You leave Parliament, and without looking left or right, you straight go to maybe a social place or you go home. But a lot of these members who come from these bandit-prone areas, unless they are adequately covered by security, they will not even attempt to go to their homes, let alone villages to condole with bereaved families. So, Madam Speaker, I thank Honorable Sarah for raising this very, very important issue. But I want to assure the House as a committee, we are going to name names, we are going to name pockets of troubles in this country, and we are going to stop at no point, even administrators, if they are part of this problem. With those remarks, I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Karachuonyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to say a word or two on this insecurity affair. Madam, it is a very sad thing to listen to the story of what's happening where this insecurity is prevalent. Surely, to see that somebody who had his own home is living almost nowhere, perhaps in the forest, just for fear of his life, is a sad thing. The number one priority of any government is the security of its people. I appeal to the government to rise up to the occasion and do what is needed to cause peace so that our areas which are suffering can feel safe. Madam Speaker, I know that there are causes, like the minority leader said, there must be causes for all this. But are these causes unique to these particular places alone? It is possible these causes are in other parts of this nation as well. But those places have not taken to arms in order that they can fight the battle going on elsewhere. We therefore, I can say, have potential problems in these other, quote, peaceful places, because indeed they are not peaceful. They have a potential problem waiting to occur. It is again very important and necessary for the government to rise up to the occasion and face the situation before they explode, to join the other parts of the country where problems are already on the surface. You see that we are talking of development. We are talking of progress, economic progress and so forth. Where peace is not existing, it's a waste of time. Our nation will never, never develop if what has started in these areas we are talking about are allowed to continue. We will not get anywhere with our effort. I know we pay a lot of tax so that we can improve our country. But then, who will be able to use the resources necessary for development if you do not know what's coming to you the next day? Individually, and even as communities, if you know today but you don't know tomorrow, you cannot invest. You cannot try to accumulate anything that would add to your wealth if you have any. In other words, Madam Speaker, what I'm saying is that the problem we are facing is a serious one, needing a very, very serious action in order that Kenya can develop and move forward. But if we sleep over the peace, pretending that development upon which we are spending a lot of effort will be fruitful, Madam Speaker, I think we are daydreaming. I beg the government to take action now and not tomorrow. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. County MP Isiolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to stand to support this motion, hoping to capture the deep pains that pastoralists and families in this part of the country go through in the hands of these bandits who are roaming our lands with a lot of impunity that anyone cannot imagine. Madam Speaker, while we could survive natural calamities like floods and droughts in this part of the country, it is very hard to stay safe from these bandits because they are all over. They are operating with so much impunity. They can come in, raid, kill, maim, and still get away with it. Madam Speaker, standing before you, I want to present a case of an innocent Form 3 girl by the name Fatuma Wako Wario, who was leaving school just recently after closing. She was on her way home to see her parents on 1st April on the road, on Isiolo Merti Road. She was shot dead by these bandits. This left the parents and the families so devastated, and many other families so hopeless to the extent that they're even afraid to send the learners to schools anymore. Madam Speaker, further, what has left many families so helpless is the fact that even after these bandits have raided and taken all the lives and destroyed everything, it is amazing that the state could not go after them and recover those herds when they have complete intelligence on where the herds are and who are keeping it. Just to give you an example for my county, we do have 147 camels hidden in a Mukogodo forest, just like mentioned by Mheshimiwa here. It is known where, which boma, how many other bandits are involved, but there is no action from the government. So one is left to wonder, in a state where we have a security establishment and machineries that are functional, why is it so hard to go after these people, even after they've destroyed lives? At least recovering those herds will give some hope to families and these pastoralists. But still, the security agencies are not ready to go after them. So that can only embolden these bandits to come back again, kill, maim, and the cycle continues. Madam Speaker, this is a matter that has now killed so many hopes. It has broken families. It has taken away livelihoods. It has, I can't further describe it. And we can't normalize it, making it look like it's a normal thing on this part of the country and nothing can be done. I think as pastoralists, as leaders, we feel that it is enough and it is time we probably relook our way of handling bandits. And if there's need for us to have a conversation on how we could handle it in a different way, then this is the time. This is the time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important motion. I wish to thank the Honourable Korere for this motion. Honourable Speaker, as we speak, there are sections in this country, particularly the North Rift, that are under a militia. Honourable Speaker, those are sections of the country that literally there is no government. There are young men, women, and children who are wielding guns, moving from one place to another, raiding families, killing innocent children, killing innocent women. Honorable Speaker, can you imagine in this century that we are in a place where there are no schools, there are no churches, there are no public utilities in that particular area? Honorable Speaker, it is something that as a country we must sit down and we discuss, because if you look at the history of this country developed along the railway lines. There are areas in this country that have been marginalized, and currently they are still being marginalized. Honorable Speaker, when we talk about marginalization funds that were set aside, Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that marginalization funds that was meant to develop areas that were left behind have been hijacked and used for other issues that were not originally meant for. Honorable Speaker, my opinion on this issue, the person or the office to blame for the runaway insecurity in this country is the office of the IG. Honorable Speaker, we feel that the Inspector General of Police has no stamped authority to deal with the issue of bandits in this country. Honorable Speaker, in fact, when we talk to our people, other officers down there, they say, Sisi, we don't take advice. We don't take instructions from Raila. Honorable Speaker, the Raila they are referring to is the CS for internal security. Honorable Speaker, we feel there is sabotage. We feel there is sabotage from within government, from within certain officers in this government. Honorable Speaker, there is no way that a militia will run the entire day, kill people, and there is no arrest by our police officers. I thank the honorable member from SACU, and she has made a profound statement before the floor of this house that they have identified certain individuals, because criminals, gangsters cannot be a community. Gangsters are certain individuals who should be isolated and perhaps assassinated, because they have run amok in the Kerio Valley, they have run amok in other areas in this country. Honorable Speaker, finally, so that I give other members to speak. It is an issue that, as a house, even as I was sitting here, a member of parliament passed here and said, in near bandits. You can imagine, referring to us as bandits. Because as members of this house, we feel that those areas have been marginalized, and there is need for a deliberate effort by the government to make sure that service delivery is taken to this area, and those individuals are identified, isolated, and of course, the necessary action be taken so that those criminals are wiped out. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Turkana East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this time to add my voice to this motion. Madam Speaker, the issue we are discussing here, I don't know how we can term it, because we, the members of parliament from the North Rift and also Laikipia, Isiolo and the other affected areas, which they have been taken away by bandits. Madam Speaker, I have just heard the honorable member for SACU saying very soon they are going to table a report here on security on those areas. They visited my constituency about a month or 2 months ago. And he said, time has come for us to say these bandits by names. But Madam Speaker, to me, I don't know how true is that, because when you hear all these members speaking here, condemning this issue, you hear like if you're talking, they mention of the bandits from a certain area. Madam Speaker, until the time that report will be tabled in this house, that's the time we can mention those people by names. But before that, time has come for this country to face the Pokoti community, who are terrorizing the entire communities in the North Rift. And we cannot be afraid to say that, because we can't be told let's not mention a community. But who are these people now? Can the government tell us who are these people by names so that we cannot say the Pokot community? Can we be given the list of the terrorists from the Pokot community who are terrorizing Turkana community, the Tugene community, the El Shams community, the Elgey Marakwet community, the Samburu community, the Laikipia community? They are the Pokot community. And if somebody has the list of those people from the Pokot who are terrorizing the entire region of the North Rift, let the list be tabled in this house so that we can start mentioning the name of that community.
Honorable Speaker, from where I sit, there is no community of terrorists by that terrorists. And in Laikipia, I'm terrorized by terrorists believed to be coming from Isiolo North and Samburu East, not Pokot.
Member for Turkana East, you shall not mention a community. I think the Vice Chair of the Administration Committee has already committed that they will bring a report with a list.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have just said that I'm waiting for that list to be tabled here, so that we can get the list of the terrorists. Even if they come from Turkana East, they come from where, let the list be tabled here, so that we can avoid mentioning those communities. But before that list being tabled here, which name are we going now to use? And that's what it has made this issue to continue, because we are trying to cover it. People are dying, clothes are being burned by the people we know, coming from an area. But we are saying not to say their names or not say that community. Until when, Madam Speaker, can this issue continue in this country? People are being killed in my constituency. Schools have been closed for the last 3 years now. Those kids are not going to school. And nobody is taking any action. And when you hear these people are dealing with the alcohol here in Central Province, every effort is being taken there. Is that not life? Are their lives in the North Rift not the same lives like their lives in the Central Kenya? Madam Speaker, it has reached a time whereby this country, the leaders of this country, can come out and see how they can help the people of North Rift. For those few remarks, Madam Speaker, let me just stop there so that the rest of the members can contribute too.
Thank you, Member for Turkana East. County MP Laikipia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this adjournment motion. Honorable Speaker, I forever remain grateful to the people of Laikipia County for giving me an opportunity to serve them. But it was as the toughest part of this job is when I receive a phone call from a family at night, either through text message or a phone call they managed to make, telling me that the bandits or cattle rustlers are outside their house. In a good case, Honorable Speaker, the following day they call you back and tell you they drove away with their herd of cattle. In a bad case, the community calls you back and tells you they killed a member of that family. Honorable Speaker, such is the life that Laikipians are leading today. Honorable Speaker, it is also good to mention that Laikipia County is the 15th largest county in this country, despite us having 3 constituencies. That said, Honorable Speaker, we are generous enough to have 7 counties as our neighbors. We start with Isiolo, we go to Nyeri, we go to Meru, we go to Nakuru, Baringo, Samburu, and Isiolo are all our neighbors. Honorable Speaker, we are peaceful neighbors, but in many instances we have neighbors who keep antagonizing us and affecting the residents of Laikipia County. That said, Honorable Speaker, our challenges are cattle rustlers, and when it is not cattle rustlers, we have illegal grazers coming to disturb us. Honorable Speaker, the greatest challenge we have as Laikipians is we know the corridors where these cattle rustlers pass, and Honorable Speaker, any member in this house knows the speed of a cow and how fast or how slow it walks. So when somebody says 200 cattle have been driven away, if the security had the intent and the purpose of catching up with these cattle rustlers, they would be able to do that. Honorable Speaker, in this day and age, there is technology. We have drones, we have armored vehicles, which if our system agrees to use, it is going to be very easy to end the cattle rustling in Laikipia County. Honorable Speaker, it is also good to mention that in the 15 wards I have in my county, 7 of those wards are actually being antagonized by insecurity. And I'll give an example of a ward called Gedega. In Gedega ward, we even know the corridor the cattle rustlers use. There's a place called Mlima Jangiri, we have Matweku, we have Mitaro. Those are places where people, it is well known to even the security that this is where the cattle rustlers pass. They have been unable to stop these people. We go to Olmoran, the same case we have at Wangwashi. We go to Salama Ward, there at Checkpoint, we have an issue there. And it is also good to mention, like 2 weeks ago at Checkpoint, they actually killed an elderly man. And in that instance, I remember the senator and the honorable MC of that area trying to pursue the cattle rustlers. They found them seated somewhere in a house by assistance of some sniffer dogs. Honorable Speaker, I find myself thinking, what if the cattle rustlers had seen them approaching? The story would be different today. Again, we have been forced as leaders to become security agencies on the ground because the security agencies on the ground have refused to work. It is our plea that we need to know the structure that is going to be used in security in our areas, because as it's been mentioned by a colleague earlier, it seems these security forces have instructions they receive from somewhere else. For me, I like to go with the good book, the Bible. Leviticus says an eye for an eye. I don't know why in our instance, a cattle rustler comes, kills our people, but when it comes to their arrest, they have to either be treated with baby gloves or treated as if they're special people. The same justice they met on our people should be the same justice that should actually be meted on them. Honorable Speaker, I speak of 7 wards that have insecurity, and we know where all this insecurity is coming from. Recently in Sosian Ward, our MC was almost killed as he was also pursuing cattle that had been stolen there. Honorable Speaker, it is my plea as a leader of Laikipia County, and I join my fellow colleagues in saying a time has come. If we will deliver nothing else for our people, we must deliver security to them. And security must be restored in Laikipia County, and the time for it to be restored is now and not later. And Honorable Speaker, would like to add that our chiefs also need to be given powers. Chiefs walk out in the middle of the night to assist our people, but again they are told they cannot give instructions to the security forces. It is time we get to know who is this person who needs to give instructions for our people to be secured, for them to be ensured they are safe, and the time is now, and we are demanding for it. We can no longer keep pleading for it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support the adjournment motion.
Thank you. County MP Baringo.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I also want to add my voice on this matter of insecurity and banditry and I want to thank my sister, Honorable Korere, and MP Laikipia for bringing this motion before us. Madam Speaker, I think we have spoken, we have attended meetings, we have screamed, we have written letters. I think we have done what is humanly possible to put across this menace. We have talked to everyone that cares to listen. Sometimes I wonder, Madam Speaker, that how many people should die? How many families should be displaced? How many children should not go to school because schools are closed? How many water ponds and boreholes, for instance, should be destroyed for government that I was bestowed by the people to protect them? I was elected in the side of government, that is the UDA party. And every day, we always remind our people that this is the government that all of us voted for, and we all expected that this problem, at least, should be eased on our back. But unfortunately, it has even, to some extent, become more burden, because I think when you have a lot of hope and you don't get the hope, it becomes more, burden. I want to say, Madam Speaker, as a member of Parliament today, I would really wish the government, my government, to take time and give a goodwill for once and for all. Today, or the other time when we came in, we saw the government taking time to fight on the menace on illicit brews. We mobilize a lot of resources. We call on leaders to take charge, close shops, arrest people, stop bars. That is business. I just wish the same energy, the same effort should be used to stop this problem. Because, Madam Speaker,